Hello, good evening, World Forest Focus, and welcome to our latest phone-in for Nottingham Forest fans. Good to be with you this evening. Looking forward to taking your calls on anything you want to talk Forest-related. Let me introduce tonight's guest. You'll have seen, if you follow us on Twitter, it was advertised as Greg Mitchell. That's not Greg Mitchell. You'll notice that's Simon Fotheringham, a hero of the hour, stepping in at the last minute because Greg had to drop out. How are you tonight, Fothers?
I'm very well, thanks, Matt. I feel that there's a lot of disappointed people expecting to see Greg, so I'll do my best. And apologies to anyone who's already disappointed to see my face.
No, I'm sure no one's disappointed. No one's disappointed at all, I'm sure. Right, we'll do the usual formula. If you've not joined us for one of these before, I see Planty, first live phone in tonight. Good to have you with us. Thank you for signing up for membership as well. Very much appreciate that. And anyone else that's ever signed up to be a member of the podcast. Very big reason for how we're able to do this for free all the time. Right, normal formula. We'll have a little chat about some news of the day. I'll drop the link in the chat, and if anyone wants to come on and have a chat, that'd be great. If you don't, then this is going to be a short podcast. So yeah, relying on you guys as ever. Right, Fothers, one bit of fresh news today that I saw was Danilo been linked with a return to Palmeiras in the summer. What's just your general thoughts on that? Would you be gutted if he went or not?
No, I don't think so. I think the injury's taken quite a bit out of him, hasn't it? He's not been the same player since he came back. I think his first game back, he was probably running on adrenaline a little bit, and the crowd singing his name and whatever. But I think he's probably been disappointing since he came back, hasn't he? And you can see the other night that Sangare gets the call ahead of him. There's quite a few other players getting the call ahead of him now. So no, I'd say thank you. Thanks for what you've done for us. But I think we need to continue to improve. And I think probably losing Danilo, I don't think there'll be many Forest fans too disappointed, providing we replace him with better.
I'll drop the link in the chat, and then we'll have a little follow-up on that, a little follow-up conversation. So here comes the link. If you want to join us, that'd be great. Click on the link that's going into the live chat now, and then you'll join the queue. I'm a little bit different on Danilo. I keep coming back to the conversation that I had recently with our Brentford guest, Billy Grant. He was talking about Damsgaard and Keane Lewis Potter and how sometimes it just takes players a long time to settle. And I think it's a bit different with Danilo, obviously. But the injury thing, I just wonder if there's a way back for him to get to be, an above average Premier League midfielder. I think the raw materials are there. So we'd have to be good money for me. I mean, what kind of fee would you be thinking?
Well, I think the sad thing for him, just going back to what you've just said there, I think the sad thing for him is that Nuno had got him in his starting 11 day one, hadn't he? So first match of the season, he's in centre midfield with Sangare, and within 3 or 4 minutes, he's gone, and his sort of all world's fallen apart with a terrible injury when they brought that fencing out and sort of covered it up, and we all thought it was a lot worse than it was. And I don't know what value is he? He's probably it depends. I mean, when you look at what we picked Hudson-Odoi and Alanga up for, he's probably going to be less than that, isn't he? But I don't know. I think if somebody came in with anything like 10, you'd take it, wouldn't you?
I think I'll be looking higher. I'll ask the chat as we go along.
Really? Okay, that's interesting, because I genuinely think he has been quite disappointing since he came back from injury. But so, what figure were you thinking then, Matt? What you got on him?
15. I think he has been disappointing since he came back from injury. But I'll Google how old he is. I think he's still young. I mean, he signed a very long contract, so I don't think we have to be in a rush to sell him.
Off the top of my head, I think he's about 23.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Drop your thoughts on it in the chat anyway, and if you've got a figure that you take. We've got 3 callers on deck and ready to go, which is great. So we'll get into those. If you want to join the queue, do that, and we'll be here for another 40 minutes or so to get your thoughts, starting now with Joseph. Joseph, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah, looking forward to chatting to you. What do you want to talk about? Anything in particular, Joseph?
Yeah, obviously Gibbs-White. It's sad to see all the rumours, because he's the best player I've ever seen playing Garibaldi Red. I'm only 14, so I mean the likes of Britson Belonga and Lewis Graben are the championship heroes I've seen. So he's the best player I've ever seen in Forest colours. But I think he's almost, it may seem a bit harsh, but in the recent game, maybe he almost has one foot in Manchester. Like, he's not looked as on it, as passionate as normal. And one thing I think about him is he isn't very clutch. Like, Murillo, he's one of the most clutch players I've seen. Like, the goal line clearances, the one-on-one tackles. I think Gibbs-White, like, when the team is playing bad, he very rarely provides that moment of quality. When we're playing good, he's amazing. He's electric sometimes. But when the team's playing bad, you never notice him get the team out of a bad place. Come up when we're like 1-0 down, come up with a goal to make it 1-1, or when we're 2-0 down, come up with a. Don't see very often him being clutch or pulling us out of a bad situation. So maybe letting him go for 80 million, because we're in a good position to sell 3 years left in the contract, especially if we get Champions League, which I'm hoping happens. In a good position to sell, and I think maybe 80 million for him wouldn't be the end of the world. He's not irreplaceable. A lot of people think he is, but I don't think he is.
We'll have a chat tomorrow, 12:15 tomorrow. Mark, Pete, and Ian Finch. And Mark's got some names of players that I've mentioned a couple of times. I'm going to press him on that. He's done some research that could work. Dave says, great point. A couple of people say, well said. Joseph, very mature for a young man. What's your thoughts on that, Fothers, in terms of Morgan not necessarily stepping up in the big moments like other top players really do?
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Joseph. I mean, if you've heard me on here before, Matt knows this, but I'm Morgan Gibbs-White's biggest fan. So when you started that little bit there talking about him being the best player you've ever seen, I'm a little bit older than you, so I've seen a few players down the years, but he's certainly the best player I've seen for many, many years. I think we should hold out for a bit more than 80 million. I think he's better than that. I think he's in the probably top 10, 15 players in the Premier League. I think, in my opinion, and I would hold out for a bit more than that. But I think you're right. I think there are moments where we sort of look to him and we expect maybe a little bit more from him, and he doesn't always deliver, which is probably, and we talked about this after the game the other night, because Eze does, and Eze did for Crystal Palace the other night, and the last 20 minutes Gibbs-White sort of disappeared the other night. So yeah, I think you're probably right, but I also think, and nobody's irreplaceable either, Joseph, are they? So nobody's irreplaceable, but I do think that out of our current players, he is probably the one that is the hardest to replace.
Yeah, I wonder if he's one of those players that when he's gone, and I do think he'll go this summer, we'll be 10 games in and we'll think, oh, Gibbs-White's all-round game and what he can do across midfield but that was the elite thing, I think. And the goals are probably the thing that's missing. I think he's a top player, but I do agree, obviously we've said this repeatedly, goals are just a huge hole in his game that's probably costing him being that elite player. I mean, do you think he'll go on and flourish at Man City if he goes, Joseph, or will it be something he regrets?
I think it depends, because one thing is very ill-disciplined, I think. One thing I always notice, when he loses the ball, he always gives away a foul 5 seconds later. Like, I think Pep could either go one or two ways. Pep could do what he's done to a lot of players, turn him into an amazing player, and he could be one of the best players in the world, and we could be honoured to ever have him at our club, especially for 3 seasons. Or he could turn into a bit of a Grealish, a Phillips, and Mateus Nunes, where exciting, big money, but Pep doesn't like him. Maybe he's a bit ill-disciplined. He doesn't work. He has a few bad games. And obviously, I think with Pep, you have a few bad games, and you could be second choice for the whole of the season. Think of Grealish, 22, 23. He was amazing. And the last 2 seasons, he's been second choice to Foden or Doku or whoever. So yeah, I don't think it would work out, but obviously I would wish him the best, and I would want it to work out. I'd want to see him thrive. I wouldn't be one of those soldier fans who think, yeah, he's left, hate him now. I still love Brennan Johnson. I want him to do well. Same with Jed Spence. I don't think, I don't like them now.
Excellent. Good points. Anything else you want to raise tonight before we let you go?
Yeah, a bit about the squad. I think in the summer we need a massive squad overhaul. Because I think Nuno obviously likes working with tight-knit squads, but I think how tight-knit the squads cost us a bit this season. I rate Sosa and Jota, but I mean, after Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, proper wing threat, it doesn't look as terrifying as Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. So I think we go big. If we get Champions League and we sell Gibbs-White for 80 million, then maybe sell Danilo, Sangare and Awoniyi for another 80 million. Being really optimistic, that could fund a 50 million number 9, a lot of new contracts, and spending 20, 30 million on a load of other players, like players from Brazil, maybe top tier players from the Championship, unearthed players from like the Serie A, La Liga, Eredivisie, etc. So one big statement strike if we get Champions League and score 20, 30 goals, and then the rest just like loads of projects. Like Anderson, 35 mil, that sort of price, unearthed the absolute player I think has a potential to be world class. Like Anderson, I was thinking there's one English midfielder I don't want to lose after that Palace game, and I wasn't thinking Gibbs-White. I was thinking Anderson. I'm like, he was absolutely amazing.
Give me those players again: Danilo, Sangare, Taiwo. Who's the other one?
Gibbs-White.
Gibbs-White.
160 million for those 4. I think we'd all take that, wouldn't we?
I think maybe a bit optimistic, but maybe sell Danilo, Sangare, and Awoniyi to the Saudi league, because you could get like. They've offered Bruno Fernandes like a record transfer fee or something. And they might be offering Nuno a contract as well. Fingers crossed not. But I mean, I think if you sell them to Saudi Arabia, sell Gibbs-White to Man City, sadly, could fund the whole squad rebuild. And then if we have the better recruitment than Villa and Newcastle, we could maybe be someone who reclaims Champions League.
Interesting. We've got a couple of people waiting to come on. So if those guys stay patient, we'll get to you very shortly. It was what, 1.2 million a week for Bruno Fernandes, or something absolutely insane in wages. I mean, no one's going to turn that down. What do you think about that general squad rebuild, Fothers?
I think we need to be careful, don't we? We've done that before, haven't we? 30 signings, who gives and all of that when we first got promoted. We don't want that again. And I think Nuno's biggest problem is that he's been working with 11 to 14 players that he trusts. And I think if he had 20 players that he trusts, so if we can look at the 14 core that we've got and maybe add 6 to it. But like Joseph says, if we lose 4 of those, and I wouldn't shed a tear with losing any of the other 3 other than MGW, obviously, then you're looking at 10 new signings to get up to a squad of 20, which we probably would need for Champions League football, wouldn't we? So don't be surprised to see, hopefully not a revolving door again, but we certainly need to be signing quality, don't we? And I think, for me, the recruitment team have got it right over the last 12 to 18 months. And if they carry on doing what they're doing and bringing in the players they're bringing in, then we'll be okay.
Excellent. Right. I'm going to drop the link in again. If anyone wants to join, that's great. We've got 2 people waiting to come on, and we'll get to them shortly. Any final words, Joseph, before we let you go?
Yeah, I really hope we get Champions League. It'll be one of the best things in my life to see Forest in the Champions League. Maybe watch Forest v Real Madrid at the City Ground next season. And any Europe would be amazing, but just come on, you Reds, really.
Good lad. I mean, if anyone saw Inter v Barcelona last night, that was absolutely insane. So, yeah. If we could have a couple of, obviously, I don't think we compete with Inter or Barcelona, but if we could have a couple of those nights, that'd be absolutely crazy for sure. Right, Joseph, great stuff as ever. We shall let you go, but do come on next time. And yeah, thanks very much, mate. See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
See you, mate. Bye.
See you later. Bye. Right, lovely stuff. We've got Planty and we've got Scott and we've got Edward waiting to join us. Just before that, we'll just take a quick word for the Trent Navigation, because it's a good point in the show. It is the game against Leicester on Sunday. Some idiot's going to do a quiz before the match, I'm sure. Post-match, there will be a post-match show with Funboy 2. Free entry as ever. You can get some food there if you want to. If you haven't filled up and you need to sober up, then do get some food and enjoy it. Well, I'm pretty confident it'll be a win. We might get into that a bit more, but yeah, Funboy 2 post-match show. And Fothers, you're the idiot doing the quiz beforehand, I guess, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. On stage from 12:30 on Sunday. Can't wait. Yeah, so get in there early, everyone. We'll have a little bit of a sing-song on Sunday as well. I think we might do a bit of Mulligan Tyre before we all head off to the world famous to smash Leicester.
Hopefully so. I am a bit nervous about that game now. Logically, I don't think I should be, but I am a bit nervous. Right, let's bring in our next caller. Here we go. Planty, thank you for signing up for membership. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you. Evening, Matt. Evening, Fathers.
Hi, Planty, okay?
Yeah, very well. Thanks very much. I'm a long-time lurker and a first-time saying it out kind of thing. I knew I'd have to follow Joseph. I knew this was going to happen if it came on. And he is possibly the toughest act to follow. I hope you're signing up to a long Forest-focused deal, Matt. I really do.
I will. As soon as he's 18, I will be. Don't worry. I will be. He's very good. He is. He's excellent.
Just a final point about what he said about Champions League being the best thing in his life. I'm 33 years older than he is. And it'd be the most amazing thing in my life. Simple as that. Possibly since the Little Woods Cup with my dad in 1989, which is the highlight of my Forest life, which is really bad when I was 9 years old that was the highlight until now, I guess.
It almost feels like he's not old enough to watch us play Champions League football. We've had to suffer. How many years have we had to suffer? And all of us, he's 14 and he's going to be watching, hopefully, fingers crossed, the best players in the world down at the City Ground. It's not fair.
I've got a 10-year-old niece and a 6-year-old nephew, and they don't know suffering. They just don't. They don't. If I say the word Fawaz to them, they don't know what it means, and probably for the best.
Gordon's asking, what year is that top that you're wearing, Planty? What year is that from?
This was that limited edition training top we had
last year.
Do you remember this? It was I think the first year we had the Adidas top, so it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year or
the year before. Yeah.
I don't remember.
My wife managed to pick it up second hand, so I was quite lucky again because I missed the original. I think probably everybody did, and every time I saw someone in one, I was like, I have to get one of those. But yeah, she managed to get me one that was lovingly used. Let's say.
The first season back in the. Sorry, go on, Matt.
Oh no, you say what you were going to say, and then I'll ask.
I was just going to say the first season back in the Premier League was Macron, wasn't it? It was the last year of Macron.
It was, yeah.
So we've only had 2 years of Adidas, so that was the limited edition. They didn't do many at all, did they?
There was a couple of thousand, yeah. So she tells me it wasn't cheap, but she would say that. Do you know what I mean?
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah, of course.
Before we get into whatever you wanted to talk about. So I've seen a few people say this on Twitter recently. Maybe it's kind of, we might not get there. The Europa League looks a lot better. In a sense, would you ever rather be in the Europa League where we're more likely to win games and go deep in the competition, or is it Champions League or bust?
It's really tough because I was lucky enough to, under Frank Clark, to go to some of the games that we had, Lyon and Malmo. Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, wasn't it? And I think nothing will take that memory away. Could we go as far as the Premier League teams have gone in the Champions League next season? Potentially, yes. And the money that comes with it is the important thing as well. But then is there a chance of us going to a final at somewhere like, I don't know, Benfica and, I don't know, smashing somebody from Kazakhstan? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which is the better thing for the club. But I think for me, I'd enjoy jumping on a plane and going to anywhere in Europe to stand in a pub with Forest fans and get in a fan zone and fingers crossed get tickets.
Yeah, I mean, Europa League will have teams like, I think, Milan, Dortmund, that second tier of clubs who've had a bad season. So it'll still be class. It's just Champions League would be massive. What did you want? Anything particularly you wanted to talk about tonight or not?
Yeah, I think, and we're all guilty of it now. It's hard to stay grounded when we're that close, when we're so close to it. But whatever happens in these last 3 games, maybe not whatever happens against Leicester, because you always want to win that one, don't you? But whatever happens in the final 3 games, it has been a stellar season. It has been unbelievable, right? Let's not forget, lesser pundits than what are on this podcast every week, experts, other podcasts, they absolutely wrote us off. They got rid of us completely. Oh, they'll finish rock bottom. Nuno's going to be the first to go. Another points deduction, all that kind of stuff. But what they didn't count on was that we've got a squad with togetherness, desire, passion, absolute passion to do something. And I think that's all backed up by the fans. It's easy for me to say because we are the fans, but the noisiest, most passionate. Gary mentioned this a couple of days ago. The songs that we've got, no other team has the songs that we've got as fans. Some of them, might be a little bit out of date. We maybe do need to reword some of them, 1 or 2. You know which ones I'm talking about. But ultimately, we have better songs, we have more noise, we outsing everybody. We all showed up to Wembley. It's fantastic. You know, it really is. It's such a dedicated following. You can't beat it. You really can't beat it.
Come in on that, Fothers, because you're in the stands. You've got a season ticket, and you know I go to about half the home games. You're there, all of them, and obviously a lot of people are lucky to go all to the away games as well. But it is a big asset and a big attribute that we're going to need in the next 3 weeks, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, and I think the good thing about the last 2 home games is the other night against Brentford, it was a little bit quieter, but it's Brentford on a Thursday night. You know, I was going to say no disrespect to Brentford, but okay, let's disrespect Brentford. It's Brentford on a Thursday night, whereas the next 2 games, irrelevant of whether we're battling for Champions League places or not, it's Leicester, which is always a fantastic atmosphere because they think it's a derby, and then it's Chelsea last match of the season. So the fans 100% are turning up at those 2 games. West Ham away. I don't know whether you've ever been to West Ham away, Planty, at the new stadium, but it's not great.
I've been there. No, it's awful.
It's not great, and it's difficult to create an atmosphere because they split the back tier from the front tier and whatever. But you know that the Forest fans are going to make a noise there as well. So it's massive, and I speak to a lot of the ex-players about what it was like to play there, and they say it's as good as anywhere. So yeah, massive role to play in the last 3 games. So yeah, bring it on. It's the place to be.
We've got 4 people waiting to join us, which is fantastic. So we'll let you go in one sec, Planty. But anything you want to add before you depart?
Yeah, just very quickly on the management and the ownership. Nuno didn't become a rubbish manager overnight, and I'm amazed nobody else came in for him, really. I mean, he won the league in the graveyard of football that is Saudi Arabia. You know, if he can do that there, he can do anything, and he's proving that now. He's got Chris Wood playing the form of his career. We're playing exciting, quick-paced football. And you know, everybody's saying, "Oh well, Forest are cloggers and Forest are boring, and it's 1-0s and all that." But you could, maybe we're slightly biased, but we watch it and it's exciting, isn't it? It's so interesting and so fun, and there's always going to be something, whether it's a goal line clearance from Ola or Murillo, or if it's Chris Wood banging one in from just outside the box. And we're not a flash in the pan. Just my very final point is Mr. Marinakis has got a plan, and irrespective of what all the taverna waiters have told me when I'm in Greece on holiday, right? He's an extremely astute businessman, right? With a desire to be the best. And we're the ones along for the ride for that. And I can't fault it. I'm excited. And if we're in Europa, if we're in the conference, if we're in the Champions League next year, I don't know. Who knows? And who knows what we're going to be doing in the league? So yeah, great fun. I'll get off for much more interesting people to come on. But thanks, lads. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward to sticking around and adding some stuff in the chat.
No, good stuff. Enjoyed your call, and good to have you with us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Good night.
Bye. Bye. Right, we've got lots of people. We'll just rattle on and go on to our next caller then, who is Scott. Scott, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. And
hi, Scott.
Hi, Fathers. Nice to see you again.
How you doing? You okay?
Long time. Yeah.
Are you well, mate?
Yeah. I worked with you at the Saltbucks for the Dylan Barker night.
Yeah,
if you remember. I was working with you then.
Scott, I think you are our first caller on our first phone in, I'm sure. So you've got a little bit of history, I think. I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, I have been on before. Yeah, I haven't been on for a while because every time the phoning's on, I'm always away somewhere. But now I'm free tonight, and the thing, the first thing I want to add, and it's after young Joseph again. I think it was the first night when Joseph came on actually, when last time I went on, and again, I think from what he said about Gibbs-White, I think he's absolutely spot on about him. He was disappointing to say the least. And the only thing positive I saw from the Crystal Palace game was that Sangare had a reasonable good game really, and I think without blowing too much smoke to him or even jinxing him, I think he's the type of player that we probably needed in that midfield for a long time. Just someone that could control the midfield and keep the passing going even in the tightest of spaces, because like sometimes Anderson is on his own there, and also Murillo runs into dead ends a few times, and I think we just need that sort of control in midfield, or if not, play Ryan Yates, for that matter, because we need Yates now more than ever, because we've got Leicester coming up next, and we need a bit of heart and soul in that midfield now to get everyone going. But if I said about 10 games ago, I would have said, well, as long as Gibbs-White's in there, Yates can have a day off. But now I think with all the noise going on outside, and I hope Gibbs-White is realising that he's going to be the next Grealish victim or the Calvin Phillips victim if he's not careful. So he needs to up his game, because he needs to show why he's attracted to Manchester City.
Interesting. And now we'll talk about Sangare, because that's an interest. I thought people would want to talk about him, so that's good.
Yeah,
you were quite high on him, Fothers. In fact, you were probably very high on him. I thought he was good. A lot of fans have been really impressed. There's still fans who weren't impressed. And interestingly, Lewis and Colin Barrett, the two ex-pros, they were quite middling about him. Felt he'd done well, but nothing amazing. So he's still got work to do, Fothers, has he, do you think, to really win Nuno over as much as anything, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he's still got a lot to do to win the fans over, hasn't he? And I get what you're saying, Scott. And I think he had a good game the other night. But I do think I was one of the ones when we first signed him that I kept saying to you, Matt, there's a player in there, but we just never saw it come out. And when he was on the team sheet the other night, I was like, oh no, I'm really not sure about it. And that's probably why I was raving at the end, because he did much better than I thought he was going to do, I think. But he's one that I would let go in the summer, I think. I think there's better players out there. I do think there's a role for him in the last 3 games. There might have to be a role for him in the last 3 games if the injuries carry on like they are. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, listening to the ex-players and particularly Lewis the other night, who played in midfield in a sort of similar role, although Lewis used to play much more in an attacking role, I guess. But yeah, he just thought he was adequate, didn't he? But that's what he was. He was adequate. He did well, and he was probably the pick of 2 players for us the other night, along with Elliot Anderson. So I would definitely go with Yates ahead of him on Sunday in the derby, though, in the Leicester game.
Yeah, because we need the heart and soul in there, and I think Yates has had that. But if Yates is not going to play, it has to be Sangare for me, because like Dominguez is inconsistent, and so is Danilo at the minute, and there's links with him moving away as well. And I think, and I did say like to my brothers and my dad as well, and said, look, if we're going to change anything, we're all right on the wingers and the defence. I said, if we have to change anything, is that centre midfield, and because we've never had that fine pairing, that we all, that you always had, like like the Scott Gemmels and the David Phillips in that midfield. That's what we haven't had this season. But consistently, sometimes it's Danilo one game, or sometimes Anderson another game, or Anderson going on the wing, or Ryan. We just need that consistency. But another thing as well on Sangare, I think the reason why he hasn't been playing, because I don't think he's Nuno's type of player. Because if you look at the midfielders he has had at Wolves, you look at Neves and Moutinho, 2 completely different players to what Sangare is. But even though Sangare can be that Rolls Royce, but completely different players to what Nuno's worked with before, and I can see why he's been picking Dominguez and Danilo, because they aren't far off the type of player that Neves and Moutinho is.
It's interesting. I think Sundays. I think Sunday could be a good game for Sangare, because I think we should have quite a lot of the ball v Leicester. So it's a good chance for him if he does start. And then I suppose Fothers, that leads to he has a good game v Leicester. He could have a good game v West Ham, and if he shows up v Chelsea, then he could save his Forest career, I think, couldn't he, in the next 3 weeks potentially. I know you're saying sell him, but if he really smashes it in the next 3 weeks, and there's a way back for him, definitely, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we first signed him, he came with a great reputation, didn't he? I remember sitting on a plane on the way back from somewhere, and I got my Forest shirt on, and I sat down, and this guy went, "Oh, Nottingham Forest, you've got Sangare," and I'm like, "Yeah." And I'd hardly seen him play, and he went, "You're so lucky to have him," and he was a Dutch guy who'd seen him play in the top flight over there. So there's clearly a player there, but I don't think we've seen it. I genuinely don't think we've seen it, and I keep wanting to see it. You don't want players to fail. I don't want Danilo to fail. You don't want Taiwo to not score goals. These are all Forest players who you want to play and you want to do their best. All this talk about more. Sorry, go on, Scott.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's like for example, it took Kevin Campbell 3 seasons to get going, and then when he played in his best third season, he got sold. And maybe third time lucky. If he plays well in these last 3 games and secure his place, or if we can't find anyone better than him in the summer, or potentially better than him in the summer, then why not keep him and see what he's made of? Because he did actually start against Bournemouth at the very start of the season alongside Danilo, so there is something there. So maybe I'm sound like I'm contradicting myself from what the point I made earlier about what type of midfielder he is to compare to what Nuno's worked with before. There's something there, I still think. So I think it's all down to these 3 games that could secure his place, or if not, he can move on, like you said, Fothers.
And if we can't find a buyer as well, there's no point selling him on the cheap because it cripples you with PSR. So you might as well look for that 3rd season, as you say. Before we let you go, Scott, anything else you want to
add? I think it's a good opportunity to give a good shout out to the Trent Nav. Even though I'm not from Nottingham, I live in Burton-on-Trent. Me and my dad took the train from Burton to go and watch Forest and Brighton in the FA Cup quarter final. And believe you me, when it's a live Forest match there, you feel like you're at the ground. And and plus you can watch the game holding a beer in your hand and having a burger in the other hand. It's brilliant, great atmosphere. And if I get a weekend free and Forest are on the telly again, I'll definitely go up and to the Trent Nav again.
Scott, you've sorted me out a stopgap advert there. I love that. We can play that one again. I'll be happy with that. Right, lovely stuff. We'll let you go because we've got a few other callers ready to go. But good to have you with us. Cheers, mate. Thank you. See you later.
Scott. Cheers,
Bye. Bye. Right. Just before we come to our next guest, we've got Collo and Edwards waiting to come on. We'll have to take a word for Vesta Blinds. Now, I did see someone asking Planty about his decor. I don't know if it was Vesta Blinds or not, but this is the place to be if you're looking for shutters or blinds made to measure in the Notts or the East Mids. Do check out the link in the description, vestablinds.com, and you can see the number on screen, 01623 325 054. If anyone calls landlines anymore, I don't think I've called a landline in forever, but vestablinds.com are the people for you. That was a fantastic segue for us. I think you'll agree.
It was indeed.
Thank you. Right, let's go to our next caller. Here we go. We've got Collo and we've got Edward. I'll drop the link in the description if we have time. We'll just see how these next 2 calls go. Collo, good evening. How are you?
Oh, mate, all right.
Yeah, good to have you on board. Anything you want to talk about? What would you like to talk about tonight?
Cracking channel. I just think it's written in the stars that it's Chelsea in it. The last game, I think.
Yeah.
That's going to be the one in it. And I reckon.
How are you feeling about that? Would you back us?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What about this Leicester game? Give us your view on this Leicester game. Everyone thinks it's a banker. I think it's a banker, but are you getting worried or not?
It could be a banana skin. No, I think we'll do it. We'll do Leicester, mate. Yeah.
How are you feeling about it, Fothers?
Yeah, I'm confident on Sunday. I think if Nuno plays the best 11, and I don't know what that best 11 looks like at the minute with Hudson-Odoi and Murillo and other knocks and they all look a bit battered and bruised at the moment, don't they? But play your best 11, and they've got some good players, Leicester, and I'd certainly have a look at a couple of them over the summer to see if to see if we can snap a couple of them up. But we're better than them, aren't we? We're better than them, so let's get them beat. And as Collo says, the Chelsea game, we've been looking at it for months, haven't we? I think everybody's had one eye on it for the last 3 or 4 months, where it could all come down to it. And here we are, 2 games away from the Chelsea game, and it's a head-on collision, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
what about that? But sorry, Collo, go on.
Yeah, no. I mean, just about the Sangare, thing. I'm not a big fan of Sangare. I've got to say that. Having said that, I did say that he should have started at Palace, which he did, and I was pleased for him. You know what I mean? Because he's really, really struggled. He's had his critics, and rightly so. And like Father said earlier, we don't want players. People think we want to slag people up. We don't want to slag Taiwo off. We don't want to slag Sangare off. But when you're on the pitch, wearing the red and white shirt, Nottingham Forest shirt, you want them to turn up. You want them to put in a shift. You want them to create whatever. The professional footballers, very well paid. You know what I mean? You don't want them to fail, but if they're crap, they're going to get slaughtered, and rightly so.
But I think. Sorry, Matt. I was just going to say. I think you're right, Collo, and I think what we've done certainly in the last 2 years is players like, when you look at the likes of Moussa Niakate and Arel Mangala and players like that, who. Yeah. You want them to do well, and actually they're decent players. But actually, what we've done is we've improved on them, haven't we? So Niakate's gone, and Murillo's come in, and Milenkovic has come in, and Mangala's gone, and we've constantly improved with the players that we're bringing in, Elliot Anderson, etc. So it's not about not wanting Sangare and Taiwo to do well. It's just about us wanting. If they're not going to be good enough, it's about replacing them, isn't it? It's about replacing them with better players. And can I just say as well, when I was talking about Leicester players to sign, Jamie Vardy was not on that list. Just for those comments in the chat.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a player that we should be looking at. Like I said in the chat, if we're serious about getting in Champions League, we've got to get players of the calibre of Bowen. Bowen's at West Ham, right? We've got the dough to get him. Matoma, Delaps. We've got to get players of that calibre. If we're in the Champions League, we've got to get players of that calibre.
Bowen's an interesting one for us. I think, as Collo says in there, a few people have dropped Bowen in the chat. I think because he's West Ham's talisman, you always think they'll never sell him. But I think that kind of calibre is where we kind of have to look. It's just whether we can afford them, I guess.
Yeah, Matt. If we're in Champions League, we've got to have players of that calibre to compete. Because let's be honest, we punched the World weight, 100%. We've had a great season. We beat the Scousers. That goes down in the history of the club, don't it? That team that won at Liverpool. After how many years? 57 years or whatever it was. That team, they're all legends to me. All of them. Every single player. We beat the Scousers at their place. Hudson-Odoi, legend. Even Ward-Prowse, legend. Yatesy with the skipper, legend. You know what I mean? If you're a Nottingham Forest fan and you know the history of the club, that means so much, doesn't it? So it does. Massive.
Let me just before, because we've got other callers, and before I let you go, because you've raised some interesting points. Let me ask you one other, Collo. If the season started again tomorrow with this group of players and we're on 0 points, and I agree we've overperformed, what do you think is kind of par then for us? Where could this squad finish if the season started again tomorrow?
I said at the start of the season we'd finish 9th. At the start of the season, I thought I said 9th. So I'm delighted. If we don't win another game, we've had a great season. Let's not beat about the bush. Nuno's done brilliant. The players have done fantastic, but the squad's too thin. We all know that. But we can do it. We can get into the Champions League. The Palace the Palace result was fantastic because it steadied the ship. We'll beat Leicester. West Ham, not sure about that. It will come down to the Chelsea game, and we'll beat them.
Excellent.
I hope you're right.
Collo, we'll let you go. Some interesting points there that I hadn't really thought of. So you provoked some good debate there. So do come on again. But thanks for coming on tonight, mate.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, brothers. All the best to you, lads.
Thanks, Collo.
You too.
Cheers,
mate. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Right. We've got a couple of callers which we'll get to. I suppose that was interesting. I asked that question because it kind of demonstrates for us that we probably do need quite a few signings, and this season has been quite an overperformance. I'll let you come back on that Bowen point and general signings one as well if you want.
Yeah, well, to be honest, at the start of the season, I was trying to find 3 teams that were going to finish below us, genuinely. And I had a couple of arguments in the pub with a couple of mates, Forest fans, who were like, "No, we're going to finish 10th or 11th or whatever." And I just couldn't see it at the start of the season because I didn't know how good Anderson was. I didn't know how we'd settle down, and I didn't know we'd be that good with 29% of the ball. But we sit here now, having completely overperformed out of anybody's expectations. If I'd said to anybody back in August that with 3 games to go, it would be in our own hands to qualify for the Champions League, you'd have laughed. You'd have been in a straitjacket and carted off. So it's been amazing, but what we need to do now is build on it and not go backwards, because all the other teams are going to get better. So Tottenham are not going to be as bad as they've been this season. Man United are going to get better. Everton are already getting better. Wolves are already getting better. Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, all of those in that bracket, they're going to be as good as they were this year, if not slightly better. So we have to improve because we are punching above where everybody expected us to be. But I fully expect us to do that. I've got absolute faith in the recruitment. As I said earlier, I think we'll sign the players that we need, and I'm already looking forward to next season. The worry is signing enough players and enough depth to be able to enter 4 competitions with the FA Cup and the League Cup, isn't it? So, but yeah, just enjoying it, Matt. It's just like, you keep expecting every game. The experts tell you that we're going to lose and this is going to be the bubbles that's going to burst, and it just doesn't. We just keep going.
Yeah, I think enjoying it's the big thing because we're in a fantastic position. The clock goes back to 0 in August, and then you have to do it all again. And we've done so much good stuff that I think you really should enjoy it. I mean, next season is going to be interesting. I'm reading Rob Dorset tweeting Leeds are going to spend 100 million and try to stay up. And there's going to be, if Leeds or Burnley do it, there's going to be one of those 17 established clubs that are going to go. And, Man U, Spurs, West Ham, they've been very lucky this year. So I think we always have to be moving forwards. I think that's important.
Everton, Wolves, Crystal Palace. They're all going to be. They're all a lot more established in the Premier League than we are. So, we've got to constantly keep improving and getting better players all the time.
Just dip into the chat before we come to Edward and Lee, who've been very patient. Edward, in particular, I've seen dip in and out of this chat about 15 times, fixing his webcam or something like that. But we'll come to Edward next. Jared mentions Mavididi is a decent player. And Didi, I think his best years are gone. I don't know how old he is, but Fatawu, who's a good winger. I like El Kanous, actually. I like the keeper. I don't know if they've got anyone else who would fit the bill for us of that quality. Gordon says he doesn't want Danny Dyer and the owner having a scrap in the car park about Jared Bowen. That's true. Eze Damsgaard and McAtee are all gettable. I don't know if Eze is. I'd take all 3.
All 3 of them, wouldn't you? Yeah, you would take all 3.
Yeah, I love Damsgaard. I know Derek's commented further below about his goals record, but I don't particularly worry about that because he's created a ton of goals for Mbumo and Wissa, sorry, I should say. They've scored 19 and 18 goals in the Premier League between them, and he's set up a lot of them, so I don't mind that. Jigsy says about if Nuno does go to Saudi, anyone fancy Jose? Probably a conversation for another day. I don't think I would, to be honest, but we can know. Fothers is shaking his head. No, not for me either. Too much of a circus. It doesn't fit in with what we're building.
The other player who impressed me last Thursday night for Brentford was Kevin Schade. I think he looks a decent player.
Very exciting front line, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good attack. That's good defence. Right, let's go to Edward and Lee in the final 10 minutes. Appreciate their patience. Edward, good evening. How are you?
How you doing? Yeah, my StreamYard keeps kicking me out every so often. It obviously doesn't think I have anything worth saying, but we can all be the judge of that, I suppose. Basically, yeah, I'm trying to find a bit of comfort in previous seasons to kind of guide me through the last 3 games here with a bit of confidence, because I'm just thinking about the last, like going back to the promotion season and the last 2 survival seasons. Forest have always had business to do at the end of the season to achieve something, and they've managed to do it on each occasion. And I'm kind of bringing that with me now into this season. 3 games to do it, and I think we can do it. The other thing as well is on Sangare. We've been very lucky that certain players have had great cameo moments in previous seasons for us that have helped us over the line. Taiwo, obviously, most notably 2 years ago, and then the previous seasons, Danilo has come up with odd moments and kind of short runs of games where he's made big differences with goals and contributions, etc. So maybe Sangare will be that player this season, because I think Temps made the point with Colin Barrett there yesterday that with Callum on the side, not on the pitch, there's more focus on Morgan, and obviously there's then less freedom for Anthony Elanga as well. So I think if Sangare is to be picked, I think he adds that kind of passing option from midfield that gives teams something else to think about, another passing lane to try and close down. Whereas if you pick Yates or Dominguez, you don't necessarily get that. You get their qualities that may suit the Leicester game, but I think, as has been said by others and yourselves, that we will have more of the ball against Leicester, so let's try and do something with it. Because at this stage, teams have worked us out. And I think that's as well as the fatigue and kind of the use of a small squad. Teams have worked us out, and I think it's been shown over the last few weeks. And I think we need to bring another element to our game to combat that. So I think Sangare could be that. But the whole season's been kind of like a high wire act. Nuno's been spinning plates and trying to keep space, spinning for 38 games. And, he's done an incredible job. We've been lucky with injuries. We've had players, the vast majority, there was 7 or 8 players over 30 games, as you said on the pod yesterday. It's like most of them have given 7, 8 out of 10 performances every week almost. We've had a few dips, but really we've been so fortunate, and the team, and like to get into the Champions League, like that would be just rocket fuel for this squad and this club to get in. And I think, if we were to get Champions League, if we were to have a good transfer window and get that depth in every position on the team, I don't see why we couldn't achieve what Club Brugge did this season and get to the last 16. They're a relatively small club, but a very well organised team. They rode their luck a bit. Every team needs it, but they knew what they're doing. They had a plan. Alternatively, we could end up like Bologna, a team that hadn't been in Europe for 60 years in the Champions League, European Cup, and just failed to adapt. But they haven't let that affect their season, and they're back in the Champions League places again in Serie A, hoping to qualify for a second season in a row. So there's good paths to follow and good prospects ahead if we make the right decisions and if we get the right results over the next 3 games.
It's interesting. One thing we haven't said, followers, that Edward sort of touched on there. I think all these 3 games are going to be very tight because our attack is a little limited without the twin threats. But one thing we did see on Monday night was we went behind and we actually didn't lose the game. And I think that does give me some confidence that I think they're knackers, but they haven't gone under mentally completely. And I think that gives us some encouragement, doesn't it?
Yeah, coming back on Monday night was massive. When we'd not scored, I think it was two games since we'd scored. We'd not really looked like scoring, and you sort of wonder where the goal was coming from. And then we go behind at Palace, and I must admit I was very, very deflated when they went 1-0 up with the penalty, and I couldn't see a way back into it. But when we did, it showed the resilience, and it's interesting, Edward, listening to you there, talking about the end of the last 3 seasons as well, where we've had stuff on the line or something on the line, something to play for, and we've come through it. So let's hope that we can take that, like you are, into these last 3 games and get something out of it. But certainly, I think the equaliser at Palace, Matt, don't underestimate how big that was for the players and the fans. And I know a few people we're disappointed that we didn't get a win at Palace, but that's a massive point. And it'll in 2 weeks' time when it's all finished, 2.5 weeks' time when it's all finished, we'll look back on that point at Palace. I'm sure how important it's going to prove to be.
Hopefully so. I think so. We've got one caller waiting, Edward, and the clock. We'll try and keep it under an hour. So I'll let you go in 1 minute. But anything you want to add before we let you go?
Yeah, just I have an idea of a wonderful prospect on the 25th of May. It's almost 3 years to the day since the famous playoff final victory at Wembley, and we may have the prospect of Ryan Yates pressurising Levi Colwell to scoring an own goal into the Trent end and giving us Champions League qualification. So I'll leave you with that prospect.
Lovely. I had not thought of that. I'm glad that's
great
a really
work,
good
Edward.
shout. He'll be, and if anyone's going to be in his ear about that corners and things like that, Ryan Yates will be reminding him, I'm sure. So that's a really good shout. Really good. Right. We'll let Edward go. We'll bring Lee
Thanks,
in.
guys.
Yeah. Cheers, Edward. See you later.
Thanks, Edward.
Bye. Bye.
Cheers.
Audrey says we're short on likes, so listen to Audrey, and if you could remedy that would be lovely. If you could hit like on this video, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching after the event, very much appreciate that. Right, we've been going for almost an hour, but we will speak to Lee, obviously, because he's been very patient. Lee, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Matt. Are you?
I'm good. Yeah, good to have you with us as ever. What would you like to discuss tonight?
Morning,
Hi, Lee.
morning. Evening, fathers. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate.
I think Morgan's going to have a bit of a dilemma on his hands. If we qualify for Champions League and City do come in for him, where's he going to go? I won't
Man City.
I don't think I would, because I think he'd be a bench player. He's going to be a starter for us. Puts him out there again, doesn't he, with everybody else? Is money going to be that important to Morgan? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. I think I know where I'd rather stay, and that's with us.
Am I ultra cynical, fathers? I just think he's going to be offered 250 grand a week, and he's not going to turn that down. Am I too cynical there?
I think it's a great debate, isn't it? And I think I personally, I mean, he's the star at our place, isn't he? He's the best player we've got, and he's going to go to City in a pool where he's not the best player, and a bit like Grealish was, and he might get used sort of bit part player, but it would be. I think it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, if he signs for Man City and then we qualify for the Champions League and they don't. I mean, that would be the ultimately, wouldn't it? And that would be, but I don't want that to happen because he's my favourite player. So I want him to realise that the grass is not always greener and stay at Forest. But I've spent best part of 50 years of my life watching our best players leave. So you sort of get a bit hardened to it. But they all come back, don't they? They all come back. Not necessarily better players either, but Clough, Nigel Clough, Neil Webb came back.
Gary,
Gary,
yeah.
No, we have a replacement. Yeah. We have a replacement for Morgan already there, and that's Anderson. He's well. I mean, I've got some colleagues who are Newcastle fans, and they just call him the Geordie Maradona, and they miss him so much up here. It's ridiculous, and they think that what we did was steal him, really, because if you think of the deal that we had to do regarding Lacaminos, and then take in Anderson, I think it works out. We only paid about 15 million for him in the end. He's a replacement easily for Morgan if he decides to go. But it will give us so much more money. And if they want to chuck 75 million at us and McAtee, I won't say no to that one, because I think that lad's got a good future in front of him and all. He's a bright star.
Yeah, I think he's good. When I said before, I think Morgan will go for 250 grand or whatever, and that's not even a knock on him. I just think that's football, and I'd wish him well. I think we're lucky to have had him for 3 years, personally. I didn't think, once I saw that first season, saw how good he was, I thought, we're going to do really well to get more than a couple of seasons out of him. So, yeah, he's top class.
We all thought that, didn't we, Matt? We've been talking about this on the podcast for a couple of years, haven't we, about Gibbs-White and Murillo being our best players, and we don't want to lose them. And here we are after 3 seasons. We've, like you say, we've had the best of Gibbs-White, the best of his career so far. And you've sort of got to go, good luck to him. And if Man City want to gamble and give us the money that that we think is worth. That's the big thing, getting what he's valued at and what we think is worth. Then if his heart's not in it, which I'm already seeing people saying, then you've got to let him go, haven't you? But yeah, I think you're right, Lee. It'd be absolutely brilliant if we're in the Champions League and they're not.
Oh, good. Yeah, it'd be absolutely brilliant. I mean, yeah, it's just little old Nottingham Forest, this little side from the East Midlands. Yeah, whatever. Keep all your money, Manchester City. We know where we are.
Very good. Sci-Fi Monkey, if Gibbs-White will need 2 10s and a striker, McAtee won't. McAtee can play 10. He's more of a wide option. He's a very different option to Elanga. But yeah, we'll need a number 10, certainly. I think there are options out there. I'm sure the club could look. I think I said this the other day. I don't think we can go out and sign another number 10 who can do what Morgan can do as an all-round player, who could play as a number 8 just as well for me. In fact, I still think Morgan's better as a number 8 than a number 10 sometimes. And I do think we need a striker. Do you think, Lee, as well, what we've seen with Chris Wood the last couple of weeks, he needs so much service that it probably shows me we need someone who can manufacture something out of nothing. Because Chris Wood, he's fantastic and I love him, but he doesn't really make goals for himself too often, does he?
No, he doesn't. He definitely needs that service from either both sides of the wings, from either Elanga or Callum. Then also this bright young midfielder that we've got with Morgan, he definitely provides the balls for Woody to latch onto and score. Woody doesn't have, I'm not being disrespectful, but I don't think he has the ability to make the chances for himself. He relies on other people. He doesn't have out-and-out pace. He's strong, but he doesn't have the out-and-out pace. And he does rely on those balls coming in. Yeah, I think we're going to be in the window, aren't we, during the summer? We're going to look for strikers. We're going to probably look for a creative midfielder again. Yeah, and I think it's also shown in the last couple of weeks where we have struggled, or Woody struggled, to get the chances. And the odd chance he does get, he's not been there. But I know one thing: we'll beat Leicester on Sunday. I have no fear of that one. They're so much better than them. They're just rubbish.
He can score goals, not out of nothing, but the goals at Leicester, I remember where he nipped in between defenders and he took a touch and turned and scored. And at Fulham, when he's really fit and firing and smashing it, he can do that. But he's not someone who's going to beat 3 players and smash it in from 20 yards. But then Fothers, I guess, then you're paying mega money, aren't you, to do that? That's like Lamine Yamal type players that you're not going to get very easily, I suppose, are you, Fothers?
Yeah, exactly. I think Woody's. I think he's been struggling a little bit with service. I also think he was, when he first came back from his injury from the New Zealand trip, I think he was a bit rusty. I think he's back. He'd have scored the other night actually if it hadn't come off that guy's leg. He's in that into the corner, isn't he? And it's deflected wide. Otherwise, he gets a goal there. Scored 2 at Tottenham, didn't he? One that was his toenail was offside. So I don't think we've got too much to worry about with Chris Wood, and he'll come up with the goods in these last 3 games.
Yeah, I think I could definitely see him scoring 3 goals in 3 games and getting past 20 goals, certainly. Jared mentions Wieser and Delap who could run in behind as well. I think what I'm saying is we probably need a different option in the summer who can do that other side of the game that Chris can't. Just coming up to the hour mark then before we finish, anything you want to say, Lee, before we let you go?
Yeah, just a quick one from the Palace game. I really loved the battle between Mateta and Milenkovic. That was proper centre-half and striker battles, but it was also fair. There was no nastiness. There was no niggly stuff. It was proper, full-on centre-half striker battle. And I loved that. I thought it was really, really good. Because you just see too much niggly going on. But they played hard. They really did play hard. But it was fair. I really did enjoy that. I thought it was a good battle. And for me, Milenkovic, he come out on top. But I do like Milenkovic in the minute. He's just my favourite player. So he's a proper hard nut, and he's gets blood on his nose and what have you, but gets up, shakes his head, and cracks on with it again. He's a proper good lad. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a few shouts for him for player of the season, and we'll do that in a few weeks, obviously, as well. Right, Lee, thank you very much. We shall let you go. Where are you this evening?
I am a little place called Throckley, which is on the A69 just outside of Newcastle, and I'm on my way up to Scotland. So yeah, just a little industrial estate hiding out of the way so nobody can see me.
Good man, good man. Well, good to have you with us, and safe travels. Yeah, we'll catch you soon. Cheers, Lee.
Okay, cheers,
See you later. Bye. Bye. Right, we shall leave it there in terms of callers. Thanks very much for everyone's company tonight. If you haven't already, do us a favour, hit like on this video, do subscribe to the channel, do consider membership or Patreon, and give us a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We shall be back tomorrow, as mentioned, 12:15 with Mark, Pete and Ian Finch, and we'll preview the Leicester game, and we'll do a bit of chat, as mentioned, around Gibbs-White and other signings and stuff like that, but primarily Leicester preview. Friday, opposition preview with James Sharp, who's a Leicester fan and a former colleague of mine who now works the Mail on Sunday, covering West Ham primarily, but he sees a lot of Leicester, including their game as well. So we'll kill two birds with one stone there. And I'm not giving too much away. He says they're both rubbish, so we should beat them both. So do check that out on Friday, and then post-match show on Sunday. Right, Fothers, you've been a hero. I hope you enjoyed that. I think these are good fun. You don't know what people are going to talk about, do you?
Yeah, do you know what? I've loved it. It's when I normally come on and you send us the WhatsApp before and you know exactly what you're going to talk about. But tonight was great because you just don't know what anybody's going to say. So yeah, really some really good questions, some really good points, and I can't wait till Levi Colwill scores the own goal that puts us into the Champions League in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, can you imagine? We'd have to sign Levi Colwill then, because he'd have to be an absolute goal machine for us based on that. Really good calls tonight. Good to see a few different callers as well. Planty and Collo, good to have you with us, plus a few regulars. Thanks to Fothers. Thanks to everyone's company. If we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.